Powered by Red Media in partnership with TSN, it is season 6 of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, Tim Hortons. A Roll Up the Rim to Win is back now through March 23rd, so you still have plenty of time. Play for a chance to win tens of millions of prizes, including the electric Volkswagen ID Buzz. There's ATVs, vacations, electronics, gift cards, of course, Tim's products, and so much more. Tim's Reward members earn one digital roll with each eligible purchase of select drinks, breakfast, or meal items. Plus, while supplies last, guests can also receive a roll-up to win hot beverage cups, right? With a roll to reveal under the rim. So 4 times now, 4 times during this campaign, I'm 2 and 2. 2 free coffees and 2 played against. Not bad. There's something very rewarding about going, because it depends. Now, if I'm feeling generous, I want to take the lads, the chocolate chunk cookies, Cheryl likes, this certain donut, that sort of stuff. I will go in and I'll say, okay, I'll have a medium coffee, 1 milk, and whatever else. But there is something very satisfying about just saying, hey, I have a free play, free coffee, but yes, I'll also get, hey, very nice. So I'm on a roll. No pun intended. I'm on a roll.
I one time for me, one winner. And so it is remarkable how you feel like I won. Like I won.
I know it's awesome.
It's a great campaign. So zip through. Are you drive-in guy or walk-in guy?
Drive. Yeah, it's just part of the routine. I drive in quick, then gone.
Yeah, the one by our house is it's busy. So I think I have this theory that if I can find a spot right by the door, I dodge in and I think I'm quicker. I don't know if that's fact. It's just something I've
no. You know what? I'm going to ask. My buddy Matt Hanley owns, I don't know how many of the local Tim Hortons shops. Yep. 2, 3, 4, something like that. So just being the pain in the ass that I can be, I haven't done it in a while. But as soon as there'd be like 4 or 5 cars in front of me, I'd text him, go, Matty, come on, man. Like, there's got to be a cadence here, pleplease. And I'd take pictures of the car in front of me. And, oh, yeah.
I'm sure just what he wants, right? I'm sure what he wants on his day.
If they're ever out of the chocolate chunk cookie, oh, he's getting a text. Like, you can't run out of these cookies. Like, what are you doing back there?
I think the only thing I'd say without meeting Matt, you realize he's not making the cookies himself, right? You understand that? Yeah.
Yeah. So. Oh, no, I get it. But somebody's, it's just me being me. That's what it is. It's just part of the whole.
Yeah, but thank you, Timmy's. I do enjoy winning a free coffee here once in a while. I do like rolling it up and winning.
Quick story about another very friendly character, Gino Reda. Very friendly man, right?
Okay, sure.
So we're going to the NHL general managers meetings next week, and they're in Florida, so it's a nice trip, right? This is the collection of meetings where they spitball. They talk about just pie in the sky stuff. What if we tweak the rule? What would that do? And they get into their breakout groups and all of that. So Gino calls me yesterday, and he wants to talk about the trip. No problem. Gino's got, everybody has stuff going on. He's got some stuff going on around his family and whatever else. So I could tell by the end of the call, which was brief, that he was a little distracted. So that's fine. I'm like, okay, Gino, we'll talk to you later this week. Have a good one. Yeah, I had no problem. Love you. Oh. Do you ever get that? Where he's like having conversation, like he clearly wasn't
different
saying
people.
Love you to me. He was like thinking, okay, well, my daughter's just called me or whatever, but he was so mentally distracted. And so I text him instantly and like, did you just say you loved me? And he was like, yeah, sorry, man. I got lots of stuff going on. So anyway.
Yeah, no, I generally tend to remember who I'm saying that to. Like that doesn't, and you would not be getting one, I don't think.
Yeah, I wouldn't be high on the list. Take care, but no, love you. Bye.
That's awesome.
Lot going on.
He's going to show up. Sorry, he's going to show up with one blue or one black shoe and one brown shoe. down there.
He
He's got
might.
too much going on,
He did. Well, his concern was the travel because normally those trips are like 3 days, not 4. And this one happened to be a third night stay in
Oh boy,
Florida.
gee.
So
How
he
are you
thought it'd
guys going to
been,
do it? How are you going
I
to do
know
it?
it's going to be a challenge, but he thought that there was
Jeez.
it just wasn't booked correctly. So he was just double checking. He was being very,
Huh?
very careful with company funds. All right, Tim Hortons headlines, Ray. A weird one, right? And I get hit between the eyes doing Ottawa radio. I was doing the pregame show yesterday when this story broke of Aaron Ekblad being suspended 20 games without pay for violating the NHL and the NHLPA's policy on performance-enhancing drugs. Now, Ekblad admits he made a mistake. He took something to expedite recovery from a series of recent injuries without going through the proper checking mechanisms, right? And that includes
Right.
Florida Panthers medical staff. So he gets caught on a random drug test. Now, the suspension includes the Panthers' first 2 playoff games. So 20 games total, but, their regular season runs out in 18, and then the 2 additional playoff games on top of that. So I was reminded, because you have to go all the way back to Nate Schmidt in 2018. The last player randomly caught this way. It almost never happens. And then I'm reading the policy on this, and you go, okay, well, first-time offenders, 20 games.
Yeah.
The second, if you get caught twice, which you'd have to be dumb to get caught twice. Oh, I mean, dumb for doing it a second time, 60. And a third is a lifetime ban. So obviously the league and the PA take these matters very, very seriously, but that's a bit shocking in this day and age.
Well, okay. So first of all, I'm glad you said that you were reading how the penalties, they're already pre-established. There is no hearing. There is no, because I was reading some stuff where they're like, oh yeah, just 2 playoff games, like who cares? Well, this could have happened in November. It could have happened, right? And it would be 0 playoff games. It's 20 games for the first time. So there is an agreed upon list that has been tested of certain supplements that are NHL approved, that are approved by Players Association and the teams and the league. And you're supposed to get all of your rehab and proteins and whatever else you're taking through this list. So what generally happens here, and I don't know this to be the case, but it seems like it would be. Most players today have a personal workout guy, a guy that builds their workouts, a guy that they would get a second opinion on from an injury. The teams know that there is, like the player says, hey, I want to go get a second opinion. And that happens all the time. And it's generally their doctor that they know, or their rehab staff that they have, kind of where they go in the summers and all that. Almost with certainty, it came through that part of the relationship. He didn't walk into a vitamin store and grab something. Like he's taking something that's helps with recuperation of an injury, which he had. And in a lot of cases, the threshold that you can take it to and going over is not much. And so you get burned on it. And I would be shocked if there's not other people in the league that have done the same thing that just haven't been tested.
Right.
Because it's not, people think that it's a cheat. It's not a cheat. It's not a cheat. The thresholds determine that it's outside. Like he's not taking steroids. That's not it. It's not. I don't know what he's taking, but it's not that. I got a pretty good idea, but it would just be speculative, and it's bullshit to do that. So it is stuff that you can take to a threshold, and when it goes over the threshold, in the NHL rules, you get hit with a sledgehammer, as opposed to smacking somebody in the head with your stick and getting a $5,000 fine the first time. Like, this is the most punitive of penalties. This lane of performance enhancing drugs. drugs.
And it is a suspension without pay. So
Yeah,
again, that's a
that's almost 2
significant amount
million,
of
right?
money.
For him,
Yeah,
it's
and
almost
then
$2 million.
and if there's a silver lining to any of this, it's that it clearly is a wake up call, not only to every player in the National Hockey League, training staffs, everybody, right? Reminder to every player, we need to understand, we need to know exactly what's going into your body at all times.
Because Drake's, what'll happen is they'll say, it will get said, yeah, I got it. Yep, gotcha. Because that meeting is had in training camp with the players,
Right.
and I'm sure
Yeah.
everybody goes, yeah. Well, do you think any of the guys today remember that Nate Schmidt got zapped 7 years ago?
18.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
chance.
But does this tighten things up? Like, there's so many players around the league, if not all of them, but I'll say so many, that do so much stuff outside of the arena in the pool of
No,
medical and training people that they have. They
no.
do it not because, you're right, nobody's trying to cheat. You're trying to get the most out of your body for performance reasons, not enhancement, just working within the rules. So again, just I would assume that those who take it to the nth degree will tighten up now. Not because they're trying to cheat. They're just hey, that could happen to me on a random test. I need to know
Well,
every bit of what's coming in here.
I would make sure that my um, outside the team rehab team is
Yeah,
very clear on what the thresholds are.
right.
And quite frankly, if you can't trust them, then you should fire them, because
No.
this is your livelihood. The other thing too is there are advancements in rehabilitative stuff that are in direct contrast with some of the rules the leagues have. Like there's
Right.
the newest age stuff is in
Mhm.
contrast, and it's recuperative. It's not um, it's not cheating. It's recuperative.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the line is so gray, and the threshold is so uncertain that um, you go over the edge, and man, it's a
Boom.
solid boom. Yeah.
All right. To another veteran player, right? Brad Marchand met the media on
Mhm.
Monday. Um, Logoed up, draped in Panthers red. It just looked flat out bizarre. Just like it looked like he was in a Halloween costume, just given the history that he has as captain recently of the Boston Bruins, but his time, his career in Boston. So Florida is on their 6-game road trip.
Mhm.
I guess begins tonight in Boston, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So Marchand isn't going to play. He's injured. But I mean, it's going to be must-see TV just to watch his response to what undoubtedly will be a terrific tribute in that building to one of their most decorated leaders,
Mhm.
right? Like you could tell in his media veil, appreciably, he got choked up a couple of times talking
Yep.
about Don Sweeney, how great a GM he is, all of these things. The disappointment is obvious. He wanted to finish his career with Boston. That's just not the way the business side works anymore. It isn't, unless, as the player, in this case Marchand, devalued what he felt his term and his financial value was moving forward. And he wasn't prepared to do that. He's not going to play for peanuts in Boston. So anyway, it's too bad he's not able to play, because that would have made, this game against the Boston Bruins
Right.
that much more special. But didn't it just look weird to you seeing him in red and the Florida colors and the hat and the whole thing?
Well, of course. Like when I played, I want to say maybe it was the third game, something like that, like early in Ray Bork's tenure in Colorado,
Oh yeah.
and there was an icing call, and back then the D had to go touch it, right? So
Yeah.
Ray goes back and touches the puck, and I was kind of the next guy there, and so we just swing around, and we turned around. I said, "You look ridiculous in this uniform." Like it was. It was so odd to see him in some other color, because
Yeah.
for 20 years he'd been a Boston Bruin. And it's funny, like nobody, unless Brad plays 5 years in Florida and wins 3 Stanley Cups,
Yeah.
um, he will always be a Bruin. Like he always will,
No
even though he's
doubt.
playing for
Yeah.
Florida. To most people that watch, it's going to be crazy to see him skate onto the ice. But wearing the red hat, it looked like it wasn't his hat. It looked like It looked like somebody handed him one and he kind of like fixed the brim, and like it all didn't. I don't know. It's just exactly what it would look like if you're 15 years with one team. It's the strangest circumstance that the Bruins kind of wanted him back. He wanted to be back, and they couldn't get it done.
Yeah. Unnerving for the player, that's obvious. But, he also talked about, putting the hat on for his family to see it, for the first time. And you can only imagine, I don't know how many children he has, a couple, whatever it is, but everybody's looking at him through a different lens than we are. But if it's weird for us, you can only imagine what his young children are thinking, looking at dad wearing this stuff, going, what is going on here?
It's going to be hard to play for him for a little bit. Like once he gets back, I think I read Dregs, he's closer than, like a couple of weeks inside of that, somewhere there.
I think so. Yeah. Paul Maurice suggested a while, but what does that mean? I mean, that could be 10 days, right?
But there'll be a point in that initial few games where he's going to look completely out of sorts, I would think. I mean, it would be it would be strange. And then, of course, the other thing is, just reading some of the guys' comments that, 2 seconds into the group chat, he was already chirping people, which is exactly the way he should be. It's exactly it.
That's when he's in a good headspace. I mean, it sucks. I mean, of course it doesn't. Tonight is going to be emotionally draining, no doubt about that. However, you move on. Speaking of moving on, how about Dylan Cozens? I thought you were fair in your analysis of the player after the trade from Buffalo to the Ottawa Senators, and what Ottawa should expect and what Dylan might be able to develop into if things go his way. So he gets a game winner for the Sens last night on the power play. Pretty nice goal. Tkachuk is low on the goal line, finds Sanderson on the power play, slides it over left side to Dylan Cozens, and basically had an empty net. And then you follow that up with Saturday afternoon, where Brady Tkachuk gets the overtime winner versus the New York Rangers. And then you saw the quick on-ice interview with Claire Hanna, where he was almost lost for words, right? Yeah. And typical of Brady, let's go. Like that whole the roof came off that building as, he got things fired up. When you look at the Ottawa Senators now, are you buying it? I mean, it used to be in the old regime, we've turned the corner. No, you haven't. But it does feel, and they put in the work, and there are lots of changes under Staios, more recently, of course, included with Cozens and Zetterlund coming in. But are you buying what you see, or is it way, way too early still with less than 20 games left to declare the Sens as a playoff team?
It's to say they're locked in. I think it's too early. But what I would say is they're okay. So, when teams get their 3 weeks of magic during the year, what if their magic is right now? Like they've had good moments and bad moments, and they're right around the cut line, and they've been there for a while, a couple of months. Like, what if they have one of those 9 1-1 stretches that Detroit had to come all the way back to get into it? The problem is when you have that stretch to get into it, you can't take a back step. Detroit's lost 6 in a row.
Yeah.
Like they've really taken a backslide here. What if this is Ottawa's time to catch the wave a little bit? I thought in the offseason that, I think I've said it a couple of times, I thought Linus Ullmark could be the biggest, most important free agent of the offseason. Well, he was in a trade, but addition in the offseason.
Yeah.
And he's had an uneven year. He was awesome yesterday. He made a couple of fantastic saves. And then to cap all of that magic off, he gives up a goal that is half a second beyond the buzzer. Like maybe Detroit thinks they've tied it up. Yeah. And it wasn't over the line in time. Like, what if this is their magic? if they put together in a 10-game stretch, if they win 8 games, that might be enough to get them clear enough to get in.
Yeah.
Right, in this next 3 weeks, which is really pretty amazing. And, I watched Cozens in the day before the trade, and I was really kind of disappointed. It wasn't the player that I remembered.
Yeah.
And after these 2 games that he's played, I'm like, you know what? Maybe he was just beaten down. Maybe he
Fed
was
up.
just
Yeah.
fed up, doesn't know where to turn. His energy was not what I remembered.
Yeah.
And nobody ever thinks anything other of Cozens than he's an 11 out of 10 as a kid. Like he's
Yeah.
a terrific kid. But his game had just gone flat. And maybe, and I think this is a problem in Buffalo. Maybe they've got too many of the same age of like they lack the veterans to carry the day when these kids are learning to play.
Yeah.
And maybe he just has to go to Ottawa and just play. Right? I do think, and I said this on the deadline thing, I do think this is a trade that can benefit both teams. I really do.
Yeah.
I think both players need a little bit of a fresh scrub, and certainly Cozens has hit the ground running. Good for him.
Yeah. All right. So you're not guaranteeing a spot for Ottawa, and I can appreciate that. There's too much schedule left here. What about Columbus? I mean, obviously it started with tragedy. So a tragic and yet incredible story. That's the makeup of this year of the Columbus Blue Jackets. It'd be so sweet if they, with all due respect to the New York Rangers, everybody clamoring for that final spot. Whoever gets in, great. But what a story if the Columbus Blue Jackets can hold on to that wild card spot.
It would be amazing. It would be almost unthinkable given the way that the year started. It just blows me away is how many goals this team scores. They got 7 the other night in New York. Adam Fantilli is, he's kind of forgotten as to where he got drafted, like the pedigree of him. And he got a second hat trick of the year the other night in New York. But Marchenko he's a player. Man, that kid, he can score. Kent Johnson. Remember, these are all high picks. Adam Fantilli.
Yes.
Voronkov's a really good player. They lost Sillinger, who was really starting to come along. And then they're having a Norris caliber season from Werenski. And I think he got 2 assists the other night again. Man, it's like every game, right? And so if their goaltending can hold up, and I'm not ready. There's just too much variation in the way those 2 young guys play. I mean, Merzlikins is a little older, but if you can figure him out, let me know. Because the game I saw him play outdoors, he was brilliant. And that came off of one where he had, he was leaky all night. Yeah. Right. And so there is that uncertainty, I'd say, in goal. But sometimes a story like this just has its own momentum. And I think Columbus is going to make it. Because it just feels like it's too good of a story.
Yeah.
Coming from the tragedy of the start of the year. For it to end outside the playoffs. It's just kind of my gut feel.
All right. I do want to wrap up headlines with the Maple Leafs and the whole Marner scenario, what went down leading up to the deadline. But first, how about a quick thought on the Edmonton Oilers? I mean, they lose to Buffalo. Okay. I mean, stuff happens. You can lose to any team in the league, all of that. But there's a lack of, I want to call it, life in the game of the Edmonton Oilers. And it's not consistent, but it's close to consistent. That lack of spark or commitment or consistency. Does that make sense? Are you seeing the same thing? And what do you think changes that?
Well, I do think when I watch the Oilers that I keep waiting for that period almost each game. And I don't mean a 20-minute period. I mean like 6 minutes where they just completely take the game over and the other team looks overmatched, kind of like what Colorado does. Yes. Like there's, it's certainly now, again, they're like refreshed and rejuvenated. They start playing and you're like, well, the other team can't keep up to them. Right? Like that's what it looks like. The Oilers are just, it doesn't seem like they can tap into that regularly enough. And there are moments when, McDavid has been quieter than we expect. Draisaitl's had an amazing year. But you go down to like Nugent Hopkins has been in and out of his level of effectiveness. Sometimes I know he's really productive, but sometimes I can't quite figure out what Bouchard is locked into. Like the winning goal last night, you've got to know you're in danger, right? Like you've got to know that there's danger there. And he reaches out with one hand to poke the puck away. Like, I got an idea. Take one more hard stride and shoot it in the corner. Like, get it the hell out of danger. And it's in the net. Boom. So it seems like there's a big moment that they don't. A team like them should be able to attach themselves to that big moment. And it seems like too often, Dregs, they're on the wrong side of that big moment. Where last year, they were on the right side of it.
Yeah.
And it's hard to figure out. And they're kind of like meandering along and they're doing their thing. But it feels like there's clearly another gear there. It's just, are they going to be able to find it?
Yeah. So the Leafs needed the shootout to beat Utah after building a 3-0 lead, right? Mitch Marner with the shootout winner. Now, Toronto is 2 points back of the Florida Panthers in the Atlantic. 18 games left for both teams. So that's the goal for the Leafs and for the Panthers, obviously, to win the division.
Get the hell away from Tampa.
Like, get away from Tampa. Couldn't agree more.
Go play the wild card team, whoever that is, and worry about it. But that team that finishes second or third, like those are two monster series to get out of the division.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see, as every Leafs fan is, I'm not that, but to see how the Marner story plays out. Toronto has tried to engage in negotiations to extend Mitch Marner. They value him, no doubt about that. I mean, there's been speculation of 13 million, 13 plus times 8 for Mitch Marner to keep him a Toronto Maple Leaf. That's a tough number for any player to walk away from. I don't care how much money you have in the bank. There's no guarantee that you're going to make more. So I appreciate, though, the position of his agent. Darren Ferris does this with all of his top end guys. He's doing it with Marner. He'll do it with Sam Bennett in Florida, where why wouldn't you? This is his philosophy. Why wouldn't you go to July 1st, right? See what the market is. You can still sign with your home club if that's what you choose, but you're educated now in the process. Well, I understand that. It does cut both ways. Maybe the team you walked away from is like, yeah, you know what? Instead of giving Mitch 13.25 or 13.5, we're going to cut that in half. And we're going to give two really good players $7 million. Or we're going to reinvest in John Tavares, which probably is going to happen. And maybe Sam Bennett isn't a $9 million player. And Brad Treliving loves the way Sam Bennett. I'm just curious and wonder how you think this plays out, because he doesn't want to negotiate in season. And then he pushed away. He has a no-move clause. He's entitled to push away. Pushes away from the gestures of trade that were made basically right up to the deadline. So does it get noisier in Toronto specific to Marner, or just the way he's playing right now, which is really, really good, dominant at times? Is that enough for everybody to just say he's focused on hockey and that's where we need his focus?
Well, no, of course it's going to get noisier. He could score 3 goals a game. It wouldn't matter until his name's on a contract. And I do think there are, we always focus, all of us focus on the money, on the dollar. Marner and Bennett are going to get paid. They're different players, but they're both going to get paid. And whether it's 13.5 or 12.8, they're all going to be fine. And they'll all end up being satisfied with the deal that they take. There's more to it, though. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I bet you I've had 3 conversations with Mitch Marner in his career, like of more than 10 seconds, right? So I don't know him. I don't know how he
Yeah.
thinks,
Yeah.
like, what if he doesn't want to live in Toronto? What if he's like, you know what? I am tired of this. It's
I
a
get
lot.
that. I can understand that.
Yeah. And he would be the only one to know that. And maybe
Yeah.
he'll get to June 1st or to June 25th, I guess
Yeah.
is a better timing, and say, yeah, I want to sign. And the
Yeah.
Leafs will say, okay, yeah, we'll sign. And then the parameters are already out there. It's not like there's going to be a lot of negotiation to this deal,
No.
right? Like,
No.
you're now haggling around some, in the stratosphere. But
Mm-hmm.
there's other parts to this other than the money. And I think it just feels to me like, maybe we're looking up the wrong alleyway here, that it's
Mm.
that because the money's going to be more than fine for Marner,
Yeah.
wherever he or whatever he chooses to do.
Yeah. Well, unfairly at times, and I've said this and I've taken heat for saying it. I can appreciate the lack of production in the playoffs and why he becomes a beacon for negativity.
Sure.
But he's not
Yep.
alone. He's not alone in that department. Trust me, you know that he's not, right? But for a hometown guy, man, he takes so much heat. Less this year because of how he's delivering and how consistently, he's played. But hey, you nailed it. From a family perspective, and someone around his family posted a picture of his wife, who's they're expecting,
Yep.
as a new dad in the very near future. Those are considerations that people take for granted. Right?
I do. Yeah. And I'll finish with this. I always love when a player becomes available and people say, like, the media goes, oh yeah, he's got a home in Toronto, he's got a cottage in Muskoka, or
Yeah.
like, who the hell cares? Like, that's got nothing to do with anything. If
No.
he'll go there in the off season, if he loves it there so much, you're going to go where the hockey's best, where you think that you've got an opportunity to make the most money that fits with the life that you want to have. And that's basically it. He's lucky. He's going to have a choice. Lots of us didn't have those choices, and he's wise to take the time. And if it doesn't bug him, because it would have bugged the crap out of me. I hated playing. Seriously, I hated playing in the last year of my contract. And there are players that I think that are having crappy years, that playing in the last year of their contract hurts them. I really do. I think it gets into their head, and you cannot get out of your head how your contract's coming up in 4 months. It's a vicious circle for them.
You'd have played your entire career, 20 plus years in Trail, correct? Trail on an NHL team. You'd have stayed there and just been
Great
happy.
arena. Great arena. You know what I would have liked? I would have liked to have always had 3 years in front of me on my contract.
Yes. Yeah. You've talked about this before.
I was always like, oh, I just don't. I would go like, 5 games without a goal. Oh, they're never going to sign me. I suck. They're never going to. Fucking idiot that I was.
Those are your headlines. Thank you to Tim Hortons. Ryan Rashog is getting antsy here. Ask Ray and Dregs. Ask Ray and Dregs. Anything is set to go. Hey, if you are a skilled tradesperson or construction pro looking for work in Western Canada, Acon wants to hear from you. Acon is a North American construction leader, proud to be one of Canada's original industrial contractors, building some of the largest multi-year industrial projects in Western Canada. You can be a part of this. They're looking for skilled tradespeople, construction professionals to join the Acon team and start building what matters today. Join Acon. Send your resume to trades@acon.com. Ryan?
Yeah, get in the middle, Ryan. Get in the middle.
Ryan.
Move over.
What's going on, fellas?
There we go.
Where's
He's
Zuby?
Better. No, I'm good. I'm lined up here. I'm good to go. It's been a couple of weeks, fellas. I'm happy we got the whole band together here. We got lots of good action for Ask Ray and Dregs today. But if I might be so bold, I'm going to start with one from Ryan in Sherwood Park, longtime listener, first-time submitter here.
Last name Rashog?
Just Ryan in Sherwood Park. We'll just leave it at that. Listening to you guys talk about the Oilers, of course, it's the team I cover. I do have to ask, how much do you think that the personalities in the locker room, and even to some extent behind the bench, can kind of be reflective of what a team brings out onto the ice? And so, Dregs, listening to you talk about the Oilers, I wonder, like, there's a bunch of pretty chill guys in that room, very low-key leadership guys. We know the head coach is a super low-key guy. There's not a lot of big personalities in there. And I think about what a guy like Marchand brings to a room, right? Like, who's that guy in that room? So, Ray, is it possible that a collection of personalities that maybe have trouble lighting a spark on the ice, it's maybe has something to do with a really chill group?
I would say yes, except they went to Game 7 last year. Like, it's mostly the same leadership group.
Yeah.
Like that. So I guess, yeah, I mean, it is a pretty low key group. It's not a noisy group for sure. But I don't know, was last year just lightning in a bottle then? Like, right? Like, I mean, like, that's what you'd have to think if you're like, well, it happened once, but it can't happen again. I do think they've been chasing some of the changes and deletions that they had in the offseason. I think they've been chasing that all year. And there's never been a time when they just look really settled in. And sometimes I don't know that you ever get that back.
Yeah.
All right. Enough with that dummy in Sherwood Park. Here we go. Ray, do you think you would enjoy being an NHL general manager around trade deadline day? Working the phones, trying to find deals. Is that intriguing to you? Love the show and cannot wait for the playoffs to get going. This is from Dell in Winnipeg.
I would have loved to have been in management at some time. I would have loved that. I'm constantly reminded how much more difficult it is than people think. Well, why don't they do that? Why don't they, if team A did that, why can't my team do that? Like, I'm fascinated by that. I've learned over time how much more difficult it is to get a deal to completion. But, I think I would really like it. I do think I would be really good at slamming the phone down. Do people slam the phone down anymore?
No, they've all got like glass screens, Ray. You can't slam phones down anymore, buddy.
Or like I'd have a really good like thumb on the end of the button. I think I'd be really good at that. No, I think I would love to do it. I think it would be so interesting and all in to try and find the answer. I think that's what I would like.
I mean, I agree. I mean, it's a game of chess, right? And a financial game of chess, because that's what you're working with. What would frustrate me is what used to frustrate Oilers management, doesn't anymore, because they've got McDavid and Draisaitl and all these wonderful pieces. So the no trade clauses, the no move clauses don't impact Edmonton as much as they once did. I mean, I think I said this on Friday night as we did our post-deadline podcast, but Winnipeg as an example, top team in the league, and there are teams or players in the league with 6 teams or fewer on their no trade list, and Winnipeg is on that list. Like, so you get to a point where you feel pretty good about the idea of adding Brock Nelson. You're talking with Lou about okay, this piece, that piece, this piece, and then, oh, by the way, he doesn't want to come to Canada. Sorry, Colorado's his first choice. That would piss me off, because now I've invested all this time, and I can't have the piece that I want.
The best example of that is Rod Brindamore's press conference yesterday.
Oh, was that good?
When Rantanen shows up and said, "There's 4 teams I'll play for, and you're not one of them."
Can you imagine saying that to Brindamore beyond? I mean, it's incredibly honest by Rantanen if that's how it went down, but holy smokes.
Quick follow, Dregs. If you were an NHL general manager, which of the insiders would you leak your stuff to, if any?
None.
Would you feed CJ or LeBron, or who would you?
Oh, CJ for sure. Yeah. And that's not, I mean, that sounded very, very callous
sending this
towards
to Pierre.
Pierre, and I didn't mean
I'm sending
that.
this to Pierre.
Good.
All right. What is the value of going wire to wire with one NHL team? When it's all said and done and Brad Marchand is reflecting on his career, will this move be something he looks upon entirely negatively? Or is it difficult at the time, but in the end, not that big a deal? That's from Eric in Toronto. Ray, the value of going wire to wire when you're reflecting back on your career. What do you think?
Now, you might be asking the wrong guy. I played for 6 of them, right? So, I mean, outside of sitting around at the golf course with your buddies and you're telling stories and you go, well, I played for one team my whole career. Who the hell cares? Like as a now far removed from my playing career, it would be a great source of pride. It really would. Like to be able to do what Patrice Bergeron did, right? Like, as an example that just popped into my head. But really, it doesn't matter. Your goal when you were a little kid is not to play with one team in the NHL. It's to play in the NHL. And Tiger Williams told me once, he got traded to Hartford, and Tiger has the finesse of a wasp, right? And he says to me, he goes, what's the freaking difference between this year and last year? I said, no, what? And he goes, my jersey's green and white now, not purple and gold. Just pass me the freaking puck. And that was it. And his point was, you're in the league. So I don't know. Other than a source of pride and maybe some ego to it, don't you just want to play in the league and try to win? Yeah. And that's it. Like I said, I played for 6 teams. I wouldn't have given a damn who won the Stanley Cup if I got to win it once. Who cares? And that would have been my favorite team. That would have, out of the 6, that would have been my favorite.
Yeah. I look ahead here, right? I mean, Marchand is one of, a number of significant, well, you can look back, we had Stamkos on the podcast and he openly talked about, he thought he was staying in Tampa Bay on July 1st, and then a couple of hours later he signs with Nashville because there was no room at the inn. Guess what we're talking about going into the offseason? Sidney Crosby. Is he going to finish his year or his career with the Pittsburgh Penguins? And that might feel like it's off limits. It's not in today's NHL. That's just, and maybe ever. I mean, Wayne Gretzky got traded, so I guess anything is on the table.
Okay, last one here. Can too many changes at the deadline be a problem? 2 or 3 seems manageable, but when you turn over 5 to 6 regulars in your lineup, is there risk in the unpredictable? Appreciate the 2 episodes per week and love following Ray in all of his travels. Derek in St. Paul, Minnesota. Now, Minnesota, I can't help but wonder if maybe he's talking about the Colorado Avalanche there, perhaps, Ray.
I think he's probably hoping, and that would be a problem. I do think it can be a problem. Sometimes players just don't get assimilated. They don't feel comfortable. And what if you've got 3 of them that don't, everybody's got to move there. Everybody reacts to moving in a different way. Family, how do I get around the city? I don't even have a car. I don't, all that little crap, it sits on you for a while. Some guys never get out from underneath it. And if you've made 4 or 5 changes, and if there's significant changes, I think that the biggest risk is if a number of those changes are really important pieces. If they're more around the fringe of your roster, you can probably get around that. But if you expect somebody to come in and make a big change to your team, and they're one of the guys that don't assimilate very well, you got trouble. And so, yes, I think there is a risk to it for sure.
Well, and look, 2 general managers going into the deadline, and you won't be surprised by either one of them because they've been battling for top spot in the league for a long time. Chris Patrick in Washington, Cheveldayoff in Winnipeg, not oversensitive to the chemistry of the group, but appreciative of the chemistry of the group. And, Washington going in said, I want to add a depth forward. Well, that's what they do. That's what they did in Beauvilliers. Winnipeg had a little bit more specific need. They would have preferred to bring in a number 2 center. They didn't get Brock Nelson, so they pivot and they bring in Brandon Tanev, and they feel like they had depth on their blue line with Luke Schenn. So again, they're careful not to overmanage, to give that group the opportunity to go wire to wire, if that's even possible.
One other team to throw into there was Columbus. Ivan Provorov is in the last year of his deal, and Don Waddell said, given what our team has done this year, I can't pull somebody out of the locker room. So there's got to be a feel to what your team can absorb, right?
Yeah. All right. Great stuff, gentlemen. That was Ask Ray and Dregs Anything, brought to you by our friends over at Acon. Guys, thanks for this.
Thanks,
Reish.
Bye,
okay,
Ryan.
love you guys.
See you,
love ya. Love ya.
Pedal the metal. Get your Oilers playing better.
Yeah, you're a good guy, Ryan. Thanks. You're a good guy. Bye.
Yeah, love you guys.
We kind of let him off the hook easy there. We were nice to him today. He had some serious, although the Ryan from Sherwood Park, come on. That smelled like a plant. We're a serious podcast.
No, he's really cheering for his guys right now. He's cheering for him.
All right, buddy.
No cheering.
You're at home.
No cheering.
Oh, you're not cheering?
Yes.
No. You're at home, Ray?
Yes.
I know Ryan's at home. He never leaves. What's your week like? What do you got coming up?
I've got Canucks and Canadiens tonight.
Woo!
Big game for 2 teams right around the edge of the wild card.
That'll be a fun one.
Yeah, it should be. It'll be fun. There'll be a lot of Montreal fans out here too. I like when the building's got a little bit of juice for both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go to studio on Thursday in Connecticut, and then I've got at ESPN, and then I'm just having a thought. I can't remember.
Double check, my friend. Double check.
I can't remember where I put my security card to get in the building.
Oh.
Clicked in.
That's a pain in the arse, isn't it, when you don't have the card? Because even though you've been there, they know who you are.
They don't know. They don't know who I am. I've only been there 4 times, I think. So I got to be in there Thursday. Then I fly to Pittsburgh. Is it Pittsburgh? Yeah, on Saturday for New Jersey and Pittsburgh on Saturday.
News out of ESPN, and I thought of you the other day. Because very similar negotiations, right? Stephen A.
Yeah, good one.
What did he get? $100 million? Was it what, 5 times 20?
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good cake if you can get it. 20 mil.
Wow. 20 mil. How many are they? 20 balloons.
Oh yeah. The balloons are the counters. The balloons are the counters.
So we're good for Thursday.
When are you? Yeah, we're good for Thursday. Yeah. Thursday it is. We'll be back then.
I'm dabbling this week. We've got a regional game, Leafs game on Thursday, so we'll be back for the podcast, back for Insider.
Get a guest, would you? Get a guest.
I've got a guest, but we're gonna talk about it after the show because I don't want to throw it out there and then you who have veto authority say no, I'm not talking to you.
Oh. Okay. Oh, how's your coffee mug?
You see that? Yeah, there was coffee mug. Okay, I gotta go. Okay, Ray, have a good one.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes,
land the plane, Dregs. Land the plane.
Coffee everywhere. That's a disservice to Tim Hortons. That's what that is. All right. Thank you to our sponsors who continue to support Ray and Dregs and make the podcast possible. Tim Hortons, the beverage mug is intact. It did not shatter on my hardwood floor. So all is well. In the meantime, stay safe, everybody.
Oh, this is big.